Hey Bears fans, we got some news this morning to get into as NFL teams are required to lower their rosters to 85 players, but we're still going to do our live show this afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time, so subscribe. Make sure you join us. Tell your friends that we will be live here on Chicago Bears Now at 4 Eastern, at 3 Central Time. You see the link below, youtube.com/Bears Now. With that being said, let's break down some of the roster moves the Bears have made. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, and today's show is presented by Magic Spoon. Just crushed a bowl of the frosted flavor this morning. It is absolutely clean in there because I finished that bad boy. Great breakfast replacer. It's healthy, 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and you can get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Bears. We'll tell you more about those guys later on in the show. So the Bears have made some roster cuts as all NFL teams are required to trim down to 85 by 4 o'clock Eastern today. Bears have cut 4 players. They also have officially signed Jason Peters. Talk about that later. So you're thinking, wait, doesn't that only get the Bears to 87? Minus 4 plus 1, 90 to 87 there. Well, Tarik Cohen and Germain Ifedi remain on the PUP list, so they do not officially count on the 85-man roster at this point. So once they get activated, the Bears will then have to cut 2 players. Notable cut dates. Today, got to get down to 85 players. A week from today, got to get down to 80 players. Then, of course, the big one on August 31st. All 32 NFL teams will have to trim from 80 to 53. So some of the names you'll see today aren't big-name players, but some notable players will be getting cut over the next couple of weeks. Hey, this is a tough day across the NFL. The next couple of weeks are very tough. These are people's livelihoods. Support the players that get cut today. They're fighting for their careers. Like this video. We wish all these guys the best in their future endeavors. Hopefully they can land on with other teams or perhaps at least a practice squad. All right, let's take a look at the Bears roster cuts. Justin Hardy, the wide receiver who signed a few weeks back and participated early on here in training camp. He gets cut today, has bounced around the NFL, spent some time with the Atlanta Falcons. So Hardy moving on as he will not make the final 53, probably not the practice squad as well. Bears simply have too many wide receivers, which was going to make it tough for a guy like Justin Hardy. When you think about guys like even Riley Ridley and Javon Wims are having to fight for a roster spot. Hopefully he showed enough at camp where he can latch onto a team in the future. Another wide receiver, Jester Weah, that got cut on Monday, became official today as teams again are trimming down to 85 players. We talk about that depth at wide receiver. I mean, where were these guys going to fit in? You've got Allen Robinson. You've got Darnell Mooney. Damiere Byrd is a huge leg up on these guys. Marquise Goodwin's on board. Daz Newsome, the rookie draft picks, got an advantage. Riley Ridley has performed fairly well in camp. Javon Wims hasn't been great, but he's been around. Rodney Adams has had a good camp. John Vay Johnson has had a good camp. Thomas Ives has played well. Chris Lacey has had his moments. Like, the Bears simply have too many wide receivers, so it's not surprising that they have to trim some of the fat there as they get closer and closer to those final cuts here in a couple of weeks where they try and get all the way down to 53. Some quality receivers won't make this team. That is just the reality of the situation. So for Weah and Hardy, as much as it stinks, maybe they can land on other teams where they have a better opportunity to at least latch on to the practice squad. Give me a name. Who's your favorite Bears player at this moment in time? Not all time, current roster. Favorite Bears player right now. I want to hear it from you guys in the comments. Yes, you can say Justin Fields. I will allow that for you guys. But let me know, who is your favorite Bears player right now? We told you guys today's sponsor is Magic Spoon, and hey, I want to tell you guys about our friends at Magic Spoon because I've been dropping some pounds recently, and a big reason I did that was I kicked mainstream cereal, and I got back in the breakfast game with Magic Spoon, and I got $5 off my first order when I went to magicspoon.com/Bears. The benefits are outstanding. 13 grams of protein, only 4 grams of net carbs, 0 sugar whatsoever. Most mainstream cereals have like 30 to 50 grams of sugar. This stuff has absolutely none, so it's fantastic. And the best part, it's delicious. That's why they call it childlike cereal for grown-ups, because it tastes like the cereal you ate as a kid, and now you can have it as an adult without the side effects of the sugar and the gaining weight. It's awesome. Breakfast is back in the game for me. You can get back in the breakfast game as well at magicspoon.com/Bears. Grab a box, grab 4 boxes. You can get $5 off and try all of their fantastic flavors: frosted, peanut butter, Fruity, and several others as well. Take advantage, magicspoon.com/Bears. We'll have a link in the comments and in the description as well. Couple more roster cuts to get into here. Gage Cervenka, we talked about him briefly a couple of weeks ago when the Bears signed him due to numerous injuries to the offensive line. He gets cut, and hey, he was always a camp body. That was just the reality of the situation. He's been signed and cut twice now. He was never going to make this roster. He was just a guy to help fill some gaps while some of these guys are banged up. Obviously, the Bears have now signed Jason Peters. We'll talk about him later on in the show. But he moves on. We'll see what the future holds for him. But even he probably knew he was never going to make this team. But, hey, he got some reps, which is valuable. And like we said at the top of the show, all these guys are fighting for their football career. So we wish them all the best. Do you trust the Bears' offensive line right now? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Certainly some injuries still. Teven Jenkins, James Daniels, Germain Ifedi. Get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Do you trust the Bears' offensive line at this point in time? And then the last roster cut, Dionte Ruffin, the corner, defensive back, whatever you want to call him, special teams player. Kind of like receiver, just too many members in the secondary, right? I mean, you think about corner, Jalen Johnson. Sure, you have questions after that, but Desmond Trufant, Kendall Vilder, Artie Burns. You've got Xavier Crawford, Michael Joseph, the rookie out of Oregon as well, whose name, Thomas Graham Jr., was spacing my brain for a second there. You just weren't going to make this roster if you're Dionte Ruffin as an undrafted free agent. So, you know, it is what it is. I liked some of what I saw out of him at Western Kentucky, but hey, NFL's a different game, man. You gotta really bring it if you're going to make a 53-man roster. Hey, I want to remind you guys, we are still going to have our live show today, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. Do not miss it. Mark your calendars. We'll be live here in just a few hours. So subscribe, turn on those notifications. We'll take a look at the Bears' second preseason game and, of course, answer your questions as well. All right, let's get into a little or more roster moves here. Jason Peters has officially signed. He's on a one-year deal. 39 years old. I mean, he's obviously not the player he was, but he can still play at a decent level. Had 0 penalties last year for the Eagles. Did give up 8 sacks, so I mean that's a pretty big number there. But at minimum, he'll offer experience. He'll bring some good culture, leadership. He can teach some of the young guys some new things, and perhaps he can start at left tackle if you need him to, especially if rookie Teven Jenkins is not ready to go. The Bears had to sign an offensive tackle. This was inevitable. They wanted Morgan Moses a few weeks ago. He signed with the Jets. They had to get somebody, and they opt for Jason Peters on a one-year contract who, again, will bring a lot of value to this locker room and to this young offensive line moving forward. We'll have to wait and see if he actually ends up starting for this team. I think if Teven Jenkins gets healthy, he will still be your starter, at least at first. But, hey, Germain Ifedi's on the PUP as well. There's question marks at offensive tackle, which means I think Jason Peters has a decent chance of getting real playing time for this football team, which, hey, that's exciting for him because he probably thought his career might be over after his last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you guys think? Will Jason Peters start week 1 at left tackle? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. If I had to guess right now, I'd probably say yes because as far as we know, Jenkins has not progressed that much. So get your votes in, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Real quick, the reason the Bears didn't have to cut a couple more players is because a couple guys remain on the PUP list. Tarik Cohen still on the PUP list. We'll wait and see when he comes back to this active roster. Then Germain Ifedi as well. A couple of guys who will make this team. So once they are activated from the physically unable to perform list, 2 more players will have to be released. So stay tuned for that. If that happens, we will break down that news as well. Make sure you subscribe. Join us at 4 o'clock Eastern, and we will see you soon here on the channel.